Good morning, YouTube. It's Alan Vukas, and today is Thursday, January 18th of 2018. It's 1/18/18, and here I am this morning. I am drawing some cards and having some coffee, so it must be time for me to have a chat and a conversation with you this morning. If you've watched any of the earlier videos or videos I've done, so as part of my daily spiritual practice, and part of my practice is that I use divination or cards in particular. I mean, some people may say cartomancy, and I'm not using cards in order to predict the future as much as I'm using devices as such, a ritual way to access the divine, divination, this ritual systematic way to access the divine, the voice of spirit, intuition. Because what I believe is that in order for us to live an authentic life, we must have intention. We must live from our intention and vision and dream and purpose, as well as taking action on that. That's part of living authentically. But also, if we're really going to live full out, then we need to take time to access the in, right, in order to bring it out. And to me, intuition, going within and using that guidance to inform us and the intentions and the actions we're taking, I believe all of us together, we live in a holistic 3D life, so to speak. So the cards that I use, it's just, so I take time to pull a card and then listen to the message and what's the guidance that informs the rest of my life. So the cards that I'm using, if you've watched some of the other videos, is I'm currently using a deck by Colette Baron Reed. There's a link in the notes below where you can actually go to her website and use her cards. She has other decks as well. They're available that you can do a reading for yourself every day by using her cards online. And or you can, there's also an Amazon link where you can actually check it out and read other people's reviews and experiences and maybe get a deck for yourself. If you're new to Oracle cards, I believe these are very, and there's many decks out there, and I am going to actually, I think I'm going to be using some. I do use multiple decks, but in the videos, I think I'm going to start introducing you to some other decks. But if you're new to Oracle decks, Wisdom of the Oracle is a great deck to begin with. In order to, you can just pull a card. The guidebook is very thorough. And it's a very inviting, warm deck that is supportive in whatever you are seeking to accomplish in your life. So let's go ahead and take a look at the card that I drew this morning. So this one you may be familiar with if you watched a recent video of mine. I think within the last week, this card has shown up before. This morning I pulled Come to the Edge, but today it was in reverse, or as Colette says, in protection. And protection is, there is some additional guidance around that message to help me really fully receive it. So that maybe I'm a little off and I need to make a little course correction in order to get to live in the fullness of the message that the card is bringing, or just to course correct, so to tune it in stronger, or maybe even I'm not ready for that in some way. But anyway, so what does this card mean, Come to the Edge, when it is upright? And I'm referring to her guidebook, and I usually do. I've been using these cards now for almost a year, well, pretty close, and I've seen a number of these cards many times, and I journal on these and I make notes, and I've seen this card before, but I always go to the guidebook because even though I might have some intellectual awareness of what the meaning of the card is, my perspective is what my perspective is today based on everything that's happened up to this moment. And even being grounded and centered, my perspective may not be quite in phase with what the message of the card is, because I may not be quite there yet. The message might be some energy that is coming into my life, and since I'm not yet familiar with it or unaware of it, or it might be operating in a blind spot, then I use the book in order to clue me in to things that might additional guidance or awareness that doesn't immediately bubble to the surface. So while I do read these cards intuitively based on my experience, I also go back and look at the meaning in order to, if there was anything else that I might have missed. So the essential meaning of the card is courage, taking a leap of faith, overcoming fear and accepting risk. And you see her on the card here. She is just spinning. She is exuberant, full of joy, and she is just releasing any control. There is no fear in the woman that is pictured here. And as she's spinning and she's dancing with spirit in the wake, in the current that she leaves behind, there are these rose petals, or in the shape of, to me, I interpret those as rose petals. There's a fragrance, but they are in the shape of hearts. And so she's totally loving life and loving what is in front of her and what's behind her and what's coming up. She's at the edge. She's stepping through. And that doesn't mean that she is fearless, but it just means that she is trusting spirits. She knows that there is no reason to fear, even though she might have fear, that it may be irrational, that it isn't supporting her, and that spirit has got her back. So what does it mean when it's reversed or in protection? So what immediately came to my mind when I have seen that card, because I've seen it before, is that this is usually that I might not have yet made the leap, and might be fear holding me back. And that is one interpretation. So fear is leading the way into places you don't need to go. That's the first line under the protection message. Most of what you fear at the moment is an illusion stemming from an old belief that isn't even true. Now is a time for courage. So when this card is in protection and reversed, it speaks to that, come on, you can do it. Have the courage, make the leap, come to the edge, use the courage. Fear is taking you in a direction that you don't mean to or intend to, or really not for your highest best. But this is also saying something else, especially to me, and I want to share with you another meaning that came up for me in regards to this. FOMO, the fear of missing out. So today there's a number of things that I have on my plate and a number of things to do, and I do realize that there are projects and things that are calling me to come to the edge, but then I may not be able to because of timing, and it's just not, time, place, and circumstance. But there can also be that arises a fear of missing out, and using that as a guidance. And letting that move you and take you to the edge. It will take you to a different kind of edge if you're living in the fear of missing out. And what does that mean? That means when opportunities present themselves, or a friend is going to do something, and you already have a clear idea of what's next for you, but because of maybe I might miss something, or there is I didn't even think about that, and I need to go and do that, and how am I going to do that? Fear of missing out creates additional pressure and pushes us to a different kind of edge. And so the message today is to, when you are feeling that fear, whether the fear of taking the step or the fear of, here's another step I have to take, and if I don't take it, then I'm going to miss out. That is miscreation as well. And when the questions we have to ask ourselves is who in me, and Colette mentions this in the guidebook, who in me is afraid? Who in me is afraid? What am I afraid of missing out? What am I afraid of that I am going to miss out on, or what is going to happen to me if I do make the leap? And then ask the question, is this real? Is this real? Is this true and real? I mean, and just applying the light of awareness on that, then we have the power to choose again, to choose rationally, to choose consciously, and also to choose in alignment with what else is going on in our life. So while yes, we are called to be courageous and to step through our fear, sometimes the fear that we might be experiencing is of our own making, and a different kind of fear, a fear of not taking a step. So be mindful of that today as well. I know that you're being guided and directed in every way, and I'm knowing the highest and best for you. And until I see you again, peace and love. Namaste.